All right. I'm going to take, there's a few more strategies, but there might be a question on that one or something else. So I'm going to take one or two more questions. We might go a little bit over. I'm going to try to end at about one, but I don't want to not take questions, particularly because that's kind of an advanced strategy that people love this in reality, because the miserable part about a Roth conversion is writing the check to pay for the conversion. And I'm talking about a technique where you don't have to write a check. So do we have any questions about that or anything else, Erica?
So you're talking about one person rollovers. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that I understand the topic that you want a question on.
If somebody takes their IRA, creates a one-person 401k, and then they roll the pre-tax dollars into the one-person 401k, then they make a Roth conversion of the remaining IRA, and you've effectively got around the proration rules.
Okay, yes, I do believe there are a few questions that are in that arena. So Doug Sweely asked, as a retiree, can I make an IRA rollover into an HSA?
No. A rollover, no. Now, what you could do if you qualify for an HSA is take an IRA, pay the taxes, take the after-tax dollars, put it in the HSA. By the way, the deduction for the HSA will cancel out what you put in, will cancel out the tax on the distribution from the IRA, and then the HSA is going to grow tax-free, and then down the line, you use it to pay for a medical expense or long-term care, by the way, and it comes out tax-free. So typically, people are doing that with after-tax dollars, but that would be a totally reasonable idea. Since that was a quick one, why don't we take one or two more?
Great. And another one that's related to this, getting around the pro rata rules. Marcella asked, hi, do the retirement accounts that we have through our employees count towards the pro rata IRA?
No, they don't. So that's what's so fun. You would expect, if there was logic in the tax code, that the pro rata rules would apply to all types of qualified plans: IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, SEPs, KIOs, 457s, etc. Because that would make conceptual sense. But I would, I hesitate using the word loophole, but to me, it's a giant loophole, and we've taken advantage of it to save many clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. To me, it is fun. 20-second story. I was going to this kind of week-long family camp, and I met a big shot in the IRS, and we talked taxes a little bit, and we kind of became friendly. And I was about to send him my book that had all these cool techniques, and I thought, no, I'm not going to send him that, because he might actually read it and then try to change the law to close some of the loopholes that I use. Now, some advisors, they don't even teach their loopholes in fear that the IRS is going to close it, or because they want to give only their clients the benefit of these. To me, I want to give the benefit to my clients and to the benefit of my readers and people who follow my information. Sometimes mechanically getting this done is difficult, and we help people with that. But it's an area that isn't well known that I love to do in practice. Why don't I take one more, and then I'm going to go on to some more advanced techniques to save people a ton of money that doesn't cost them anything.
Okay, now I'm going to try to, I think that these questions, one of them is directly related to this pro rata avoiding issue, but they both have something in common, which is, so Mary asked, do you have to do what Jim just talked about? Do you still have to be working?
You have to have a 401k of some type. Maybe you still have some money in your 401k plan from work. Typically, I like to control everything. I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I like to set up a separate one-person 401k plan. The biggest problem with this plan is if you want to set up, if you don't have a 401k or a 403b right now, and you want to use this technique, you have to set one up. And in order to set one up, you have to have some type of earned income. So this works very well for people who are consultants, or they do a little consulting after they retire, or they drum up some way of, I don't even care if it's $5,000. They work as a consultant for their kid, or who doesn't listen to them anyway. But just some way, and actually it should be legitimate. You have to do real work. Some way to get some type of earned income. Some people help out at the golf course. Some people, maybe do something. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, because to me, this strategy isn't about getting more money into the traditional 401k. It's to have a way of getting around the pro rata techniques. Why don't we do one more and then we'll move on?
Great. And this is actually a question that we had submitted in advance. So I really wanted to try to make sure I could get it for this session, get it into this session. And this came from John. And it's also sort of related to how much do I have to work in order to take advantage of this tax benefit? So he asks, if an individual is still employed at age 72 and is not at least a 5% owner of the company that employs him, he is not required to take a distribution from that employer's retirement plan in that year. How long in a tax year must the employee be employed to take advantage of this option? Is 1 week sufficient?
If you do this while you're still employed, there's no rule of continued employment. So theoretically, you could do it the week before you leave. I tend to not, when you use third-party plans, most of the third-party administrators have never heard of these techniques. We've been doing stuff for years where, the banks, the administrators, a lot of people, even people who've been in the benefits department, they've never heard of many of these techniques. And it's really easy to screw it up, which is why I like to actually do the mechanics. I like to actually say, you don't have to do anything, just sign here, sign here, sign here. Could you do many of these techniques on your own? Yes. And that's why, by the way, I've kind of hesitated to teach some of them, because you can screw it up pretty easily. But we've been doing it for years. There's no continued requirement for employment. The 5% just says if you own less than 5% of the company, meaning you're working for a big company and you're a little shot, then you don't have to take a minimum required distribution. But if you have your own one-person 401k where you're the 100% owner, then you do have to take a minimum required distribution, just like it would for the IRA. All right, so I am going to move on, but there is one that's pretty easy. So let's say that you are retiring, okay? And let's say that you have some after-tax dollars in your 401k. So your 401k consists of traditional 401k and after-tax dollars in the 401k. What you could do is you could direct the plan administrator to direct the after-tax dollars straight to a Roth, and then take the IRA and have it go straight to the IRA. And the source for that, in case, again, some of these administrators say, I never heard of that. What, who said, blah, blah, blah. We actually have Internal Revenue Service Notice 2014-54. So we were doing it before that, but now we had a lot of, let's call it IRS backup. And that's simple. You don't have to set up your own one-person 401k or jump through some of the hoops that I talked about for some of these other techniques. Another technique, I love this technique. Did you know that you can make an inherited Roth IRA conversion, or I should say your heirs can make an inherited Roth IRA conversion after you're dead. We've done this. People are blown away because you could save so much money. So let's say that you're thinking, oh, gee, I'm in a high tax bracket now. And if I make a Roth IRA conversion, I'm going to be making it at a high tax bracket. And after I die, after my spouse is gone, it's going to go to a child beneficiary who's in a low tax bracket. So I'm making a Roth conversion at a high bracket in order to save taxes for my child who's in a low bracket. Does that really make sense? Well, what you could do, and what you're not allowed to do, is to have your child make a Roth conversion of an inherited IRA. And if there was any logic in the tax code, the child, even though he couldn't make a Roth conversion of an inherited IRA, they are allowed to make a Roth IRA conversion of an inherited 401k. So one of the advantages of having, most advisors, oh, we can't wait to get the money from your 401k into an IRA. We sometimes go the other way. That is, you have money in a 401k, we redirect it. I'm sorry, you have money in an IRA, we redirect it to a 401k. And then one of the reasons is to do that tax-free Roth conversion. Another one is to set your family up to do a Roth IRA conversion after you're gone. Let's say your kid is in the 12% bracket and you're in the 32% bracket. They can make a Roth conversion at a 20% reduced rate. So that can end up saving a ton of, let's say you do that on, over a number of years on $1 million. You're saving a couple $100,000 in taxes. And what's so interesting is hardly anybody is doing these. Mechanically, it's difficult. I write about it. Not that many people do it unless they're working with an advisor who is helping them with all the mechanics, but I promise advanced Roth techniques, and I am trying to deliver on that promise. And we really like that when you're in a high bracket and your heir is in a low bracket. And again, you can't do that with an IRA. By the way, if you have a child with a disability, it becomes really powerful because that child can do the Roth conversion and then stretch it over their entire lives, as opposed to most beneficiaries that can only get tax-free growth for 10 years. That is a really interesting technique. And then I'm not going to go into Social Security, but I will say it is a synergistic calculation that is optimizing Social Security and optimizing Roths, and even for getting your heirs. Starting as late as age 62, getting Roth conversions right and Social Security right can make a $2 million difference in your lifetime for getting your heirs. So this is pretty powerful stuff. And I'm not going to say, oh yeah, use us and we're going to beat Vanguard by 3%. No, I think that we're going to do pretty well. We work with very smart money managers, but we use typically passive strategies. I think we're pretty good in the area of asset location, again, meaning the things that are going to appreciate more over time in the Roth. We're good at tax loss harvesting. We do, I think, a lot of things that add value, but we're not going to beat with a similar asset allocation. We're not going to beat Vanguard by 3%, but what we might be able to do is save your family hundreds of thousands of dollars by getting some of these strategies right. So why don't I take a few minutes? Well, actually, no, I think I'm running out of time. So I think that maybe I'll take a few questions after. I did promise people that if they were interested in either potentially working with me and or my firm, or if they are interested in the bonuses, that I would talk about those before we ended the session. And seeing that we are pretty close to the end, I think I would be remiss if I did not talk about those. Okay, one of the options that you have is, great, you heard all this information today. Well, there are do-it-yourselfers out there. And if you want to do it yourself and figure it out on your own, what I genuinely hope is that I have provided you a lot of good information. And I really mean that. I speak to tens, hundreds of thousands of people. Obviously, my client base is much smaller than that. And if I can help people, that's great. You might call it the trial and error method. What we have found in practice is people who didn't pay a lot of attention to money during their working years, who say, oh yeah, when I'm retired, I'm going to have all this extra time, they tend to not do it. The people who are really into it, the engineers as well, I have 42% of my money in large cap stocks. I was thinking 44%. Well, maybe they're a better candidate to be a do-it-yourselfer. But if that hasn't been your history, you could call that the trial and error method. And usually people don't get it right. I'm just being straightforward. But let's say that you say, okay, well, gee, Jim, this makes a lot of sense. And yes, I know I'm going to have to pay you a couple bucks, but maybe the couple bucks that you pay us is just going to be a small percentage of what your potential savings for your family is. So whether you call it a Retire Secure consultation, whether you call it a second opinion, what would it look like to potentially get some of our help and request the consultation? And I'll ask Brian to put the link for the consultation in the chat box. Well, who isn't it for? Well, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool do-it-yourselfer and you'd rather have a root canal than pay an advisor, I would appreciate it, frankly, if you didn't sign up, because I want to preserve time for the people who are interested in potentially getting some help and saving some money, and some people who are what I would call data-driven, which means if we can show them how much money they can save, they will at least consider it. If you're the type of person that all you care about is performance, okay, Jim, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take $1 million and we're going to give it to you. Then we're going to do it on our own. And then we're going to see who did better in 5 years. If that's the way you think about it, and I get it, frankly, the biggest difference between us and what you might do on your own isn't because we're geniuses or we're dummies. We just might have a different asset allocation or a different location that might work very well and usually does in the long run, but in a 5-year period, let's say, for example, that we put some small company, you don't have a lot of money in small companies, or you don't have a lot of money in value companies, and we shift some of the money to smaller value, and smaller value has a lousy 5 years, we might do worse. So if that's the way you're thinking about it, and that's the way you judge, then we're probably not the right firm for you. But if you recognize, gee, the difference just in the strategy alone can be 10, hundreds of thousands, sometimes more than $1 million. I really want to do the best I can to provide for myself, my spouse, and my kids and make our lives so much more comfortable, then this consultation very well might be for you. Because again, we're going to look at everything. I've mainly concentrated about the Roth. I would say the vast majority of our clients that come to us, their wills are a mess. We're going to do a whole session on what I'll call the dying part. That'll start at 1 o'clock. But this can make an enormous difference for your family. We have, I think of it as a dream team of these number crunching CPAs, fabulous estate attorneys that will, if we do business, they will read your documents, they will make recommendations. We have IRA strategists, we have these choice, but some terrific money managers, and either we or them or both of us do these unique master plan, we call them financial master plans, that I believe have great value. Our team talks to each other, constantly. It's not like you have the CPA and the estate attorney and the money manager and they're 3 unrelated parties that never talk to each other. This is more of a team approach. And frankly, you can even hang around our water pool and the arguments get pretty heated. Well, blah, blah, blah. They should do a Roth. No, they shouldn't. Well, look at these numbers up. Well, look at these numbers. Well, you assume this, you assume that. I mean, that actually does take place. That is a very realistic thing. And the other thing is you're getting me. And I am going to, assuming I think that A, you qualify, B, I think that we are a good fit, I'm going to give you at least an hour. It's going to be me and one of the number crunching CPAs. At the end of it, I'm going to actually dictate a memo that summarizes the things that we talked about. And I start to create, in effect, an outline for this financial master plan that will then go to you, and will go to the number crunching CPA, will go to the money manager, will go to the estate attorney. This is assuming, by the way, that you are that you decide to go ahead and do business with us. But you're really going to get a huge amount of value. And by the way, we might not communicate with all the people I mentioned if you're not moving forward, but you do get it. So we do have $1 million minimum. Very frankly, that minimum might go up in the future. But right now we have $1 million minimum, partly because there's so much work involved for us. If we accepted a lower minimum, we would not be doing well financially. Or let's say that you'd rather have a root canal than pay an advisor for assets under management, but you like the idea of us doing this financial master plan for you. I anticipate, with the boom that we're going to likely have after our book comes up, hint about the bonuses, that we're not going to be available for the financial master plans in the future. Right now, we actually have a little bit of extra capacity that I hired and trained these number crunching CPAs for what's going to be happening in January. We have some additional time and some additional availability. It's going to start at 12/5. And by the way, what we tend to find is that they're putting in maybe roughly $20,000 worth of time. So it's not really that profitable for us. On the other hand, we still have some possibilities for a number of people to do those financial master plans. We think assets under management is a better model, both for you and us, because it is continuity, meaning that we're going to be doing reviews and updating the financial master plan every year. If you're a Pennsylvania resident, we can actually draft trust, wills, beneficiary designations, etc. If you're not a Pennsylvania resident, we can't legally do those documents, but we can review what you have, and we can make recommendations to either your estate attorney or potentially help you find one. So there are a number of options to work with us. The next step would be a Retire Secure Consultation. The way you do that, you click on the link that should be in the chat box, and assuming you qualify, and by the way, if I don't think I can help you, I probably won't have the secure consultation with you. I'm only in the business. I'm at the agent stage. I don't need bad business. All I want is good business. And one of the definitions of good business is not only somebody who is nice and friendly and a pleasure to work with, but somebody that we can provide a lot more value than our fee. And if I don't think that we can do that, I'll just say, hey, we're not a good fit, and we likely won't even talk. Or if I discover during our meeting I don't think we're a good fit for whatever reason, then I won't take it. And I'm, again, at the agent stage, I can be a little bit picky too. And to me, I like both nice people who are nice and friendly to work with, as well as people who we think we can really help. And obviously, if we think we can help you and you're a nice person to work with, then that's a great combination. And again, don't worry about signing up for the consultation. I'm going to take advantage and have you become a client and not provide a lot of value. It just won't happen. I've done thousands of these consultations over the years. Nobody has said or even hinted that it wasn't worth their time. Most of these consultations were pre-COVID, when a lot of people flew in from all over the country to have these consultations. Again, I'm going to do this memo at the end that you're going to get, whether you do go further or not. It's going to be actionable to maximize retirement prosperity. Thank you.
Allow me to ask you some important questions. Is the majority of your wealth in an IRA or retirement plan? Do you want to protect yourself and your family from massive income tax acceleration? Are you at least slightly concerned that the new administration is going to raise your taxes? Are you willing to take action and defend yourself from government confiscation of your hard-earned money? If you answered yes, this short video could be the most important thing you have ever watched. Imagine you could wave a magic wand and have a rock-solid financial master plan that has all of your financial affairs in order, including updated wills, trusts, and IRA beneficiary designations. Think about how you would feel if you never had to worry about money because you had rock-solid data that allowed you to make informed financial decisions, not guesses. How much better would you sleep at night knowing that your new financial master plan will be completely implemented in 3 to 6 months from now? I'm going to share with you how you can make that happen. But first, let's talk about the possible impact this administration could have on your finances. Thus far, President Biden has kept his promise not to increase income taxes for people earning less than $400,000 per year. But raising income tax rates isn't the only way to raise taxes. Jim Lang predicted the death of the Stretch IRA and advocated defenses against it more than 6 years ago. Now Jim predicts 1. Higher capital gains tax rates. 2. Changes to federal tax exemptions. 3. Elimination of step-up in basis rules. 4. Tax raises in the future that are already part of today's law with the sunset provisions. And 5. Estate tax increases. Congress pulled a bait and switch on you, and it's just plain wrong. You were promised that contributions to your IRA and retirement plans would pass to your heirs with significant tax advantages. Remember the Stretch IRA? Because you're fiscally responsible, you acted on that promise. You sacrificed and did without so you could put as much money as you could into your retirement plans. Now, late in the game, Congress has pulled the rug out from under you by passing the Secure Act. The consequence of Congress's actions with the Secure Act? A massive income tax acceleration on money you thought was protected. But there is a way for you to fight back and protect your wealth from the Congress's greedy hands. We can offer you the means and the tools to pull back some of that money. There is no one strategy that will solve all of these problems. Of the multiple strategies, Jim and his team will help you find the right ones for you and your family. Here are just a few of the strategies in Jim's arsenal. A series of timely Roth IRA conversions to be executed over a number of years. Social Security optimization. Spending the right money first. Low-cost index fund investing. Appropriate asset location. The right type of trusts for your particular situation. Flexible estate plans. Leveraging gifts to children and grandchildren. Charitable remainder trusts as the beneficiary of your IRA and other retirement plans. And our tax-savvy analysis of who gets what. When you meet with Jim, he may propose implementing the superbly flexible Lang's Cascading Beneficiary Plan. Its flexibility, 1. Protects your spouse. 2. Allows for the possibility of directing money to your children after the first death. And 3. Allows for the possibility of directing money to your grandchildren with parents as trustees. These options are not available with traditional planning. Lang's Cascading Beneficiary Plan is really an estate planning system that should be considered for virtually all of your assets. It works for wills and revocable trusts, IRAs and retirement plans, Roth IRAs, and Lang's Cascading Beneficiary Plan is only one tool in Jim's arsenal. So, if you are seriously interested in placing at least $1 million of your investable assets under management with Jim and his team, the first step toward peace of mind and a good night's sleep is to schedule a Retire Secure Consultation with Jim Lang. During your 1-hour private Zoom consultation with Jim, you'll discover how to cut your taxes and preserve your wealth. Jim will answer all your questions and concerns, and likely suggest 2 or more tax-reducing strategies you hadn't thought about. Jim takes a multidisciplinary approach to securing your retirement. He accounts for taxes, legal, and investments. Jim has given thousands of consultations over the years and has never had anyone say or even imply that it wasn't worth their time. Why? Because Jim delivers real-world value and not a sales pitch. At the end of your Retire Secure consultation, you will have the outline for a concrete plan of action to maximize your retirement prosperity and generational wealth. Then you will have two options. One, you will thank Jim for his time and valuable recommendations and most likely end up doing nothing. Or two, you'll decide that you want your family to benefit from the comprehensive combined services that Jim and his team provide to their assets under management clients. And when you select option 2, Jim and his team will run full retirement and estate planning projections, producing your personalized financial master plan. Then Jim's team will help you implement the plan and manage at least a portion of your assets. The Personal Financial Master Plan is included for free, and that Personal Financial Master Plan will be updated every year at no additional cost, provided you place a minimum of $1 million in assets under management. A no-obligation Retire Secure consultation with Jim will likely provide you with at least one idea worth $10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can get it now for free without obligation. The purpose of the Retire Secure consultation isn't to sell you. It is to determine if you are the right fit to work with Jim and his team. Please note that Jim will not take you on as a client unless he thinks he can save you and your family many times his fee. Jim only has a limited number of slots in his schedule reserved for these free Retire Secure consultations, and there are hundreds of attendees on this virtual event. Since Jim personally conducts each consultation, he will almost certainly not have enough available appointments to fulfill demand. So, if you are seriously interested in reaping the benefits of our combined asset management and long-term financial planning services, act now. Click the offer link and complete the form to secure your free Retire Secure consultation with Jim Lang. Plus, when you schedule your consultation now, you'll also receive a special free gift in the mail, a Retire Secure education kit. Inside, you'll find a wealth of educational material, including books, articles, DVDs, and CDs that we encourage you to review before your consultation, if time permits. To reserve your consultation now, click on the offer link and complete the form. Listen, with the uncertainty in the country, it's natural to be concerned about your financial future. But with proper planning, you can protect yourself and your family from massive taxation, get the most out of what you have, and maximize retirement prosperity and generational wealth. And the first step is simple and free. Click on the offer link and reserve your Retire Secure consultation with Jim Lang. Don't wait and be disappointed. Request your free Retire Secure consultation now by clicking on the offer link.
Foundation